We all know cycle of narcissistic relationships, starting with how they get close to you, love bombing, to how they start taking you down with devaluing, discarding, and then giving you the breadcrumbs and getting you back with hoovering, and that cycle repeating itself. And throughout the cycle, you always have hope that they will change. If you are less sensitive, if you work on yourself, if you make all the adjustments, if you make them happy, that they will change. But in every narcissistic relationship, there is that penny drop moment. There is a moment of clarity when you realize that there is nothing you can do. In that moment, you are realizing this is not about me. I'm not crazy. One day tell me I'm good, other day tell me I'm bad, and I'm constantly living in the fog, and I'm constantly walking on the eggshells. And you see them for exactly who they are: fragile, insecure, bully that cannot take accountability for anything, and that in order to feel good, they have to make you feel bad. I think that this is the moment when you start healing. And this could be after many narcissistic relationships, coupled with having narcissistic family members and friends. So it could be after the longer cycles of experiencing the bunch of the same. And it's kind of, having a bucket where the water finally spills over and you can no longer unsee the things that you're seeing. You can no longer rationalize and justify and lie to yourself. And I'm curious about this moment. What does that look like for you? It looks different in different relationships for different people. It could be that one extra lie, one extra insult. You call them cheating. For some people, and I've heard this several times, it's when they're sick, they realize the lack of empathy that they have when they're sick, because often narcissists will find someone that's sick as inconvenient. And you were holding on to a hope that, okay, I know that they're difficult to deal with, but maybe they will help me when I'm sick. And then you realize when you're sick, they're also really not that helpful. It's that saying that comes to my mind, the hope dies last, and that's really true. And hope is very powerful, and narcissists know this and they'll exploit this. That's why they act like they were going to change that moment when they realize that you are on your way out. That's why they future fake us, throwing things that will happen in the future just because we want to hear that. But it's interesting that in those moments when that hope dies last thing happens with them is when you start taking your power back. That is the moment when you start to realize that you need to turn to yourself. And you may not know that at the time, but that's what you are doing at the time. You're transferring that hope for them to yourself. And that's really powerful. And this is a nightmare for narcissists. Their biggest fear is people seeing them for exactly who they are. That's why they put on a big show. That's why they gaslight you. That's why they destabilize you. That's why they throw you off your balance so that you cannot see them for who they are. And then once you're finally seeing them for who they are, that's like their biggest nightmare. That's when they lose all the power, they feel deflated, and that's where they're at their worst. And I do think that good amount of people never get to this point. They unfortunately continue to live in the fantasy world, and they make it okay for themselves by justifying and rationalizing and constantly making adjustment, and never really realizing what it is. And maybe some people come close to it, but they rationalize, they make excuses that breadcrumbing really works. Sunk cost fallacy, and it's like, I invested 20, 30, 10 years, 15 years, 5 years in this, and I kind of don't want to see this, and there's all these other things that I have that are going on really well for me, and I should be grateful, and I don't want to see this whole other section. And the sunk cost fallacy can be really something that keeps people stuck in narcissistic relationships. But going back to this pivotal moment, the penny drop moment, that is a turning point that I hear in many, many relationships, I'm really curious to hear, if you have any thoughts on how was that for you. If you can share it in the comments, and if you like this video, please hit like, share, subscribe, and I will see you soon with more content.